So tell me about the mono red deck.
Okay, the mono
What are
red.
some key cards? What do you have to look out for?
It's the classic mono red deck with Sphere, Chalice of the Void, and Blood Moon. It's a lock deck. They try to lock you in the first rounds and then to get over you with the Planeswalkers, and that's the plan. Bridge is another one of the lock cards,
Yep.
and there is the nice addition of Karn that is lock card and a threat.
It's a win condition.
Yeah.
Yes. I think for the mono red deck, it is really important to win the die roll.
Yeah,
And you absolutely have to slam a Chalice or a Trinisphere or the Blood Moon on the
yeah,
first turn.
all this kind of decks that you have the possibility to play a Sphere or a Chalice of the Void in the
Yeah.
first turns is kind of heavy for the other player. And Tobias is playing Dreadhorde, and Chalice
Yes.
for 1 against Dreadhorde, I heard it is pretty good.
I heard Chalice is a pretty good card, but on Tobias Grüter's Grixis Delver list, there is a Badland scratched out and one island in the list. So if he gets to play first, he can fetch for an island and at least combat the Blood Moons, which
Yeah.
is really, really important.
It was a good last minute
Good last
decision.
minute addition, yes. He's playing a quite interesting list with just 4 Delver, 4 Dreadhorde Arcanist, 2 Gurmag Angler, and 2 Brazen Burrower. Brazen Burrower being a new card. It's a 3 mana flash 3/1 creature that can only block flyers, I think.
Yes.
And it has an adventure for 2, bounce target non-land permanent. Instant speed as well. And apart from that, it's quite typical bolts, a lot of cantrips, Thoughtseize, Daze, Force of Will. Not
Yeah.
much.
He has a lot of 1 mana utilities for the Arcanist, like reanimate, Toxes, and so on.
Yeah, 2 reanimate
like-
is very cute. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be interesting. I think it's a lot about Chalice on game 1.
Yeah.
I mean, if Chalice comes down
Or
on 1,
Trinisphere. I think Trinisphere on the first turn can be even even worse.
that's against every deck, I think.
Yes.
But against this deck in particular, I think Chalice
Yeah.
on 1 is like just ouchie.
And Tobias apparently won the die roll, which is really important because now he gets to Daze and Spell Pierce and stuff like that on the first turn. So we get to see 3 mana from Lorenzo already. And Tobias is opting to respond with a Brainstorm. I don't think he actually wants to counter the Chromax.
It's strange to
Yeah, it's
answer
odd
with
timing.
Lorenzo.
I don't think it matters too much, but
No, but it's still.
it still could be like something non-red, you know. Could be like, I don't know.
Yeah, but you want to. No, I think it's really odd because you don't know which threat you are facing, and Brainstorm is really good at shuffling away
Exactly.
the thing you don't want.
Yeah.
At
And
the end, it was
Lorenzo-
great because I mean,
He did find the Daze and he was keeping it. Lorenzo opting to open with a Chandra first and playing into Daze. And immediately gets wasted. And then Lorenzo is left with 2, 4, 3 cards.
yeah. At the end, Lorenzo got locked.
This is the weakness of Stompy. You have
Yes.
like this one shot. Maybe you get the second one, but you really need to stick a threat as fast as possible. And now that Grixis is starting to resolve ponders and brainstorms, finding their spells, finding lands.
Yeah, one of the problems is like it's like in vintage. The problem against Westland for decks like this, they try to put your first threat with the dual lands, the lands that give 2 mana, and then if that land goes away, they feel like really behind because the spells are
Yeah,
expensive,
they are expensive.
in the sense of legacy. They are 3
Yes.
4 mana spells.
He basically used 4 cards to cast a Chandra and
Yeah.
even pitched a Chandra, and now he's stuck with 2 lands and a bunch of cards in hand. Ball to the face, I like it. You could argue to save the bolt for Rebel Master, but Tobias doesn't know if Lorenzo is playing it. Most lists do, though. So,
The only really threat creatures that Lorenzo has are 4 Rebel Masters.
yeah.
There is also
And I'm
an
guessing-
Azuret.
I'm guessing there is a Gurmag Angler on Tobias Grüter's side, which would be the reason for casting Bolt. Yeah, and there we see it.
in 1 mana tap, did you see something in his hand for 1 mana? Is there a spell pierce or something in his hand?
I
Oh,
don't
it's
think he plays Spell Pierce
okay.
actually.
No spell pierce. He has a force of will. I'm
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why he kept 1 mana. That was my question, but
Maybe to bluff it. I
yeah,
don't know.
could be.
And he doesn't really need his graveyard anymore, right?
Oh, he has a brainstorm in his hand. I
That
think
makes
so.
sense then. Yeah. I think we're in for a very quick game one because
Yeah.
Lorenzo is missing his second, or maybe rather his third land drop, and the deck really needs 3 to
Yeah,
4
and
mana.
one
Yeah.
of the things is like also Chandra is not like the greatest thing to lay out as first because you want to lock your opponent a little bit at least for Chandra
Yeah,
because
but
Chandra alone is
I
a good
agree.
threat.
It's not the best thing to do on the first turn because you want to play a Chalice or a Trinisphere or the Blood Moon and then follow up with
Yeah.
Chandra. But Chandra by itself is a really great card in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Really great card.
But at the same time, I feel like, you know, if your opponent then plays, he has outs against the Chandra. He can just play like a Broadzone Borrower or just a Gurmar Gambler, and Chandra feels like a little bit stupid on the board.
Yeah, it does.
And
It does. But I don't think you're going to mulligan. It's really hard. I think
I think
with
he
Red
had to
Stompy,
mulligan in my
the
opinion.
mulligan decision is really, really rough.
Yeah, but you have to be really aggressive on the mulligans on Stompy.
Yeah.
If you like, I think he didn't mulligan because he didn't know the matchup.
Yeah.
If he knew the matchup, like us, I think it is easy to call that was a mulligan to me.
Yes.
Because if you
Because he's
hit
going to die
Chalice,
to.
if you hit the Chalice against him, it is like taking away like 25 cards from his deck. If you
Or a force.
and that's a little bit better than try a Chandra on a
Yeah.
possibility of days and force of will
And he doesn't know that he's not playing Spell Pierce either.
yeah,
So.
it's like a all in on
Yeah,
a guy that
it's-
played the Volcanic Island on turn one, and you're like,
Ah.
ouchie, that's risky.
So, do you think Lorenzo is going to sideboard at all?
Let's see.
Because usually Stompy is like.
Not really good at sideboarding. Yeah,
No.
I,
What you see is what you get, basically.
yeah. It is like all the decks that are really heavy on a plan. It seems looking at the sideboard, he has 4 ley lines. This is like kind of the classic sideboard card for a deck that wants just to sideboard. If it is a card that matters a lot in the matchup,
Yeah.
it's like if you play against Dredge, you want to have something like a ley line or against a graveyard deck. And I don't think he wants to sideboard a lot. I don't think he wants. He has Scaplan Berserker, but that's not against this matchup because.
Him. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends
He
if
could
he thinks
replace
that
like.
Tobias takes away some lightning bolts because it's not great in the matchup to be honest, and he could take away some lightning bolts, but the lightning bolt is like the clear answer to Rubble Master. This way it's a little bit shaky. The
He
decision.
could replace like a Fury Confluence and maybe a Bridge, maybe a Rebel Master for the Berserks. They're fine, but it doesn't matter much. You're replacing like I don't know a banana with an apple. It's
Yeah, it's not.
it's
Yeah, Dariti
it
is a
doesn't
card
matter.
that doesn't.
I think what matters more is Tobias Grüter sideboard, and here we get to see two Abrade that I can see coming in, a Hydroblast obviously, Force of Negation very valuable in this matchup as well.
Yeah, 4 cards for Tobias.
Yeah, not a lot, and there's no mass artifact removal as well, so could be rough. Could be rough.
I think Lorenzo. There is the possibility to side in Chandra, but I don't think he can side in Chandra just because Tobias is playing with the Westlands. I think against the decks with the Westland, you cannot side in
You
Chandra.
need to
6 mana is a lot of mana.
You need to specify for the viewers. It's actually the new
it's
Chandra.
big Chandra,
The
big
Awakened
Chandra,
Inferno.
big Chandra,
Can't be
big
countered.
uncounterable Chandra.
Do everything. Yeah.
It's great when it is into play, but 6 mana is a lot of mana.
6 mana is a lot. I think it's just for the Miracles matchup.
Yeah, it's low matchups in general, and you don't have to siege Westlands because
Yeah.
if your opponent have Westlands, 6 mana is too much mana.
It is. Wastelands do get shut down by Blood Moon though.
Yeah, if Blood Moon is into play. But I feel like if Blood Moon is into play a little bit fast, you are already in a good spot against a deck that has just one island.
Yeah, exactly. So Lorenzo opted to cap 7, which is always really scary with a deck like this.
Chalice.
And I'm guessing, yeah,
Yeah, that's a
Chalice.
force.
And Tobias did the right thing by mulligan into a force. You really need like an abrade or a force in hand.
Yeah, the fact that he has a braid in the sideboard is great because they can replace easily the bolts. This way you lower also the count of 1 mana spells in your deck a little bit.
Yeah, but you really want the bolt right now.
Yeah,
You really want the bolt. It's quite
he has an
unfortunate
upgrade, I
that
think,
the
right?
Bloodstained Mire does not get to fetch for a basic island. That is really unfortunate.
Is this an upgrade, the first card? I think so. Is it not the alternative art of upgrade? I'm not
Or
sure.
bolt, I don't know.
It is an alternative art red card. This way it
Yeah.
has to be something
Something that
that
deals
burns.
with
that
Mug.
burns.
Yes. But he is taking the damage.
Then it's still something that.
That is disgusting. There's a Hybrid Blast that he can cast as well. He's
Think
probably kicking himself for playing 2 Bloodstained Mires instead of opting to play 4 Deltas and 4 Scalding Turns.
yeah, that's clearly a miss.
Yeah.
That's because he had the Badlands
It's
and he
because he had the
didn't talk
Badlands.
about changing the fetch lands, and
Yeah.
this is heavy. He had the upgrade. It was an upgrade.
Well, that's something. But there's still. Did you see what you got with the Karn? What
No,
artifact?
no. I I
From the
didn't.
sideboard, I would judge
I, I think
probably.
Liquid Metal could be a choice.
Yeah.
Like this, maybe if he has a ritual and a land in his hand, he can go big and try the
Yeah.
Lactis, but I feel it's a little bit risky.
No, it's too early for Lattice. I think so as well.
I think coating is like,
Yeah, coating and just shut down 2 lands, right?
yeah, the coating and killing lands with the card.
Or he could use it in upkeep to just make artifacts. Karn.
Yeah, but it's better to kill the lands.
Yeah, but then Karn can turn 1 land into an artifact until your next turn, and Liquid Metal Coating can do the same. So you
No.
effectively no.
No, the card doesn't transform in artifacts.
Oh, it doesn't.
No,
Oh,
it
right.
transforms artifacts in creatures.
Okay. Rasenberry deal.
Yeah, that was a good play from Tobias, because if he didn't bounce in response, he could Lorenzo could just kill one of his lands by using Karn with the liquid metal coating.
Yeah.
He could transform the volcanic island in an artifact and then just kill it with the Karn.
Yeah, exactly.
He could do it in response to the Kotal or just when the Kotal went activated, because it was clear that Lorenzo was going for that plan. Going for land destruction each turn is something that it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Even with a Delver deck, you don't want to deal with that.
Arcanist is a really good card, but at the moment,
At the moment,
we don't know. Maybe.
Tobias might be regretting. Yeah, maybe not though. But it would be cool to see like 1 or 2 Shattering Sprees in
Yeah.
the sideboard, because then you can flashback Shattering Spree with Dreadhorde Arcanist.
Yeah, and it is
And it
good
is a lot
range.
more impactful than a Braid.
It's good against Chalice also. It's good against a lot of.
It's slightly worse though, because you need to pay double red to kill the Chalice, and you can't do it at instant speed. But the card has a lot more impact and is a lot better with Arcanist.
Yeah, now the question is, I think he needed probably to keep his 4 bolts, just because Arcanist and Bolt is 6 damage,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and
It is
Magus of the
hard.
Moon. I think you need to keep
I,
for Bolt anyways.
yeah, because you don't want to use a braid as a burn spell. You want
Yeah.
to use it as a artifact removal. It is hard because if you think about it, you want to lower your 1 mana cards because there is Chalice, and you want to keep it high because there is Arcanist. This way you are like, what should I do?
I think I think the right thing to do is ignore the chalice because
Yeah, I think
if a
so.
chalice sticks, you lost the game
Yeah, I
anyway.
agree. I agree.
So
I
you need to
agree.
deal with that
I
in any
agree.
case. So yeah, I think you take out the reanimate and maybe some discard and just board in the braid and the blue elemental
I think you
blasts
have to keep the discard, or better, no, for sure
on
you
the
have to keep it on the
on the
draw, on the play,
on the play.
and on the
Yes.
draw you can think about it.
Yeah.
Because I think you are pretty decent at answering the first threat with double force of negation and for force of will,
And for days.
and I think there are daces on the draw is not like a good a good answer, but
Unlikely. Yes.
there is still the Braids and Borrow there, just waiting for his chance to appear. Okay,
Waiting for his chance to beat at the Karn.
he found at least a ponder that he can reuse with
Yeah,
a
that is
Dreadhorde.
very important actually because he needs to find a solution for a potential incoming Lattice on the
Lactis,
next turn.
yes.
Because there are 6 mana on the board of Lorenzo. So Lattice is
Ooh.
definitely an option.
He drew something. It's a game.
I think he has to use Wasteland, yeah, to prevent the Lattice from coming down this turn.
Yeah, he found a fetch. Yeah, he had 3 lands. Lorenzo killed one, and now he played the third land again. Ooh, not
He's
fetching for blue.
Yeah, I think he's opting to preserve the volcanics, because if he would get the volcanic, he would likely just
I, I,
lose it
I
in the
would not
next
throw
turn.
it away like this if you want to preserve
Yeah,
your volcanic.
don't throw away your dual lens, guys. Bad idea.
Hydroblast feels so good, and and at the same time it feels so bad at the moment. I mean,
Yeah, you
it's
just have those
strange. Yeah,
for Chandra and the creatures and blood moons. I'm saying just, but
yeah, no, it's great.
it's a
It's
big
great.
big
Without any
part of the
doubt, it's
deck.
great. But
He did find another
ooh,
cantrip
a
that is
risky
cool.
moment now, because a blood mound also would just probably seal the
Yeah.
deal now. I think.
Lorenzo has a lot of outs that actually are very
He can also
dangerous.
just kill another land. It is true that he can still use the Arcanist to draw cards and so on, but if every turn I kill you one of your lands, you can draw a lot of cards, but you will not have a good time
Yeah,
in a deck that doesn't play rituals or something like that.
yeah. At
Yeah,
least he gets to cast the spells for free, right?
yeah, yeah. Not anymore, it seems.
Bye bye Arcanist, yeah. I think this is pretty much over.
Yeah,
Lorenzo has to
I
just
agree.
find the single mountain and then he gets to slam the lattice to immediately close it out. And even if he doesn't, he still gets to kill a land every turn. Yeah, and he has to use the Hydroblast to pitch into Force of Negation, which does keep him in the game somewhat, but he's really far behind. A bolt would be great, actually.
Yeah, he needs also the land. Did you see
Yeah,
if he has a land already?
I did not.
Huh. It's pretty hard now to come out of this, yeah. I
Yeah,
totally agree.
especially with the days.
Days in this moment. Maybe you can counter the Chandra for 6 mana.
No, you can't.
I know, but
But maybe you can counter the lattice if he gets greedy and goes for it.
I
But
don't
I
think
think the
I
safe.
don't think you have to go greedy if Electics
No,
is
no.
great against the lands, but lands are not into play anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, there's the land.
Yeah.
I think his hand is now days and
The Pyro, still the Hydroblast.
no, he pitched that to force of
Okay.
negation. Yeah, Lorenzo is having a good time.
Karn is having a good time, I would say.
Yeah.
single
He
single threat
always
that
is,
is
man.
doing.
It's a really good card.
Yes, incredibly good card.
Yeah.
Looking on the sideboard, thinking about he could get greedy about Lactis. I can see that, just because he has nothing to
He
search.
could also, it depends on what his hand is, but he could opt for, just emptying his hands and
And go
cast
for a
Ensnaring
snaring
Bridge,
bridge.
so
Yeah, sure.
Dreadhorde Arcanist doesn't get to attack anymore. He does have a lot of options.
I think he will just destroy another land.
Yep.
I think it's the right play.
Yeah, I
It's,
think so as well. And there's a Blood Moon, or even worse, a Trini Sphere.
I
That's
think
not
at
so
this
bad.
moment, I think it's worse.
You
Because,
do?
yeah, because it's really fast. The clock is, now you have not just to preserve your land total, because he's trying to keep still the lands into play, one each turn,
Mm.
but you have also to answer a threat. Uh, I think he needs the bolt. I think bolt is needed now.
I think what he needs is to concede and.
Yeah, that's one of the other choices, you know.
That's a choice. Delver does not have that many comeback mechanics. His graveyard is. He gets to cast a Brainstorm, but
You're fighting.
that Brainstorm needs to find like a Black Lotus,
We don't know. It's not on the
Assassin's
list, but
Trophy,
but
and
still,
a
you
Fatal
know.
Push.
Yeah, I think it's really hard. Yeah, I totally agree. I'm I'm thinking about what could, like Black Lotus and so on, but I think like fetching for the blue black land already feels like strange to me,
Yeah.
because I think Bolt is one of the few. I think Bolt taking out the Karn is step number one if you want to make a comeback.
Mm. Ponder before Brainstorm. Wow, that's interesting.
I agree with you that it is probably over, but if I want to see some comeback, I have to think about Bolt taking out the Karn. Next turn, finding maybe another Bolt, taking out the Goblin and the token, and
Mm.
that's how I can come back in this game. I mean, if I get to just take out the Karn, then I will preserve my land and I can see a comeback. But
Mm.
without this Bolt, uh-uh,
Mm-mm.
uh-uh.
Not gonna happen. And he did do a land drop this turn, so Bolt is out of. Yeah.
No, he didn't do the land drop this turn. He did the end of turn fetch for the
Yeah.
underground.
What Tobias has going for him right now, though, is that A, he is on the play in the last game,
Yes, and that's a huge advantage.
huge advantage,
How you said before.
and B, Stompy can be really shaky. You have to do a lot of mulligans. Sometimes you don't get your ideal play on the first turn.
Yeah,
So he does have the mulligan advantage on his side, definitely.
yeah, and one of the things is really that he has more answers, but he has also more. On the first turn, you can play all your card draw. This
Yeah.
makes the deck a lot thin for getting the good answers to the
Yeah,
threats from
exactly.
Lorenzo.
In game 2, he had to mulligan to 6 to find a force
Yeah,
or an abrade or something along these lines. And if
found
you don't
both.
have it on the in your opening hand, you're basically screwed against a deck like this. But if you're on the play, you can, just some interaction is fine, but you don't immediately need the force. You can dig for it with Ponder, or maybe you have a base.
Yeah, I think with you have the toke size, you have the card draw, you have too many good cards. I mean, he has 11 card draw, 3 toke size, and 4 days
Yeah.
that are just insanely good on the play and insanely bad on the draw. I
Yes,
mean,
agreed. That's
it's
why there's force of negation.
yeah, yeah, and the second one in the sideboard.
Yeah.
That's as well. this this is not my example of a great Magic game, but because it's just it's a lot about the first two turns,
Mm.
and I feel like on turn two, 90% of the time you can try to get who is the winner, and you will get it right probably. I think there are not a lot of swings. I think game one it was kind of clear that Tobias was winning the game after
Yeah.
turn two, and the game two I think the same was clear for Lorenzo when Karn
Yes.
stick into play.
I actually completely agree with you. I am
So, so no.
guilty of playing Dragon Stompy myself. Was back in the day without the new Chandra, without Karn, stuff like that. But I usually picked it up when I knew I was going to be hungover, not very much sleep, because
No,
you need to do one decision, and
it's
that
not.
is actually a big one, the
I'm not
mulligan.
saying that the decks you should not play the deck or something like this. It's more like I
No,
think it's a
it's
pretty
not
early.
great magic, no.
Yeah, it's not like because it's like I push, you try to answer, and then after answer, if I cannot
Yeah.
push another time, it's already over. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. It's like, look, here's my thing. Either you have the answer or you're done.
yeah, that is it. I mean,
It's not that much decision making or interaction.
Wizard is really generous by giving us a braid, I think, because a braid is just a really good card in general because it's so good
Yeah,
in so many different matchups. Still not good enough to be part of the main deck, but still it's
it
a
could be.
yeah,
I
it
have
could be.
man decked it as a,
Yeah,
like a
I
one-off.
agree. Yeah,
Just to have a solution for
everything kind of.
jealous.
Yeah.
It is a bad bolt. It's not horrible.
No, I totally agree. In his deck, it's a lot worse because it's not a one mana cost card.
Chat is asking why is it called Stompy. The answer to that is Stompy decks usually go big in mana on the first few turns, so that's why it's called Stompy. There's also a white Stompy deck. There's blue Stompy, which does not see play. It hasn't seen playing for many years. And
Yeah.
why
With the
it's
Portal Dragon, yeah.
because it's a remnant of the old Dragon Stompy deck, which already had no dragons. I disagree. It did have the 4 mana Hellbent Dragon for a very long time. That was before there was Rebel Master, before Chandra, and Gaithan Raider and the Hellkite, the Hellbent Dragon were the two big creatures of the deck back in the day.
It's a mulligan for Tobias. You said he had the mulligan advantage.
Mm.
He proved you wrong. I'm
Do I
joking,
need to
but
explain statistics to you, my
no,
friend?
I totally agree with you that it's Lorenzo's deck is a little bit more inconsistent, or better,
Yes.
it's consistent in putting a threat, but maybe he needs specific oh, what specific threats.
Yeah.
Okay, against the Arcanist.
Against Arcanist and against Angler.
Reanimate if you plays it.
I think Reanimate is not in
I don't think either
in the 60.
anymore. No.
Yeah. But it does answer Dreadhorde Arcanist and Gurmag Angler, which also is a big issue for Stompy, a
I'm,
fast angler.
I'm asking myself if he brought in four of them.
Yeah,
It
probably.
it would be crazy for me. It
Yeah.
would, but just because
And you're also down a card in your opening hand.
yes.
Oof, that is a horrible hand for Lorenzo, actually. He doesn't have any red mana and only red cards apart from Karn, which will get discarded now, I think.
I,
That is very all in.
I really don't like the ley
Yeah.
line. I think
Yeah, I don't like it either.
this is not a deck
If this.
that can do stuff like this. I mean,
Yeah.
there are. I don't think against Tobias the ley line is bad. I think against Tobias ley line is good, but it is not part of what you do.
Yeah.
Tobias will be slower for
Yeah,
sure and making advantage, but
it's a
that's not
very good
useful.
it's a very good card I think even in this matchup, but you're losing. I mean, this could be, I don't know what you sided out actually. Maybe some confluences, some bridges. I don't even know. And Leyline is a do-nothing card for a very large portion of the game now, I think.
Yeah, Leyline is great against Tobias, but at the same time,
You need something else as well.
yeah, Lorenzo is really a deck that wants to put two threats together, and I don't feel like Leyline is the threat you want.
Nope, not at all.
Or better, it's not a threat. It's just.
And I've seen Lorenzo tapping his fingers on the board because he has absolutely nothing. It's just waiting on a top deck mountain.
Yeah.
But I think it's already too late. That's the third cantrip that resolves, right?
Yes.
So even if he has Dreadhorde, Arcanist, and maybe a Garma Gangler, he can just shuffle them away and he's fine.
I have to say the game will take a lot of time. That's one of the things Lorenzo is doing. And
He could. I don't think so. He can just bounce it with Brazen Burrower, or Delver is still a decent clock.
yeah,
I think this will be over quite soon.
we will see. He needs to draw one of those.
Yeah, true.
And I'm not sure he kept all the Delvers in.
Really?
I
I
would
think
not.
Delver is amazing against
Yeah.
the Planeswalkers.
I think against Planeswalkers it's really good, but at the same time, you're bringing in so many cards. I think not so many,
Just
but
4.
1, 2, 3, and I think also Scorn 4, and blue 5 maybe if he plays Scorn. Maybe he can bring in other removals just because he doesn't want to use the braids. I don't know. No, it's 4 cards.
Actually,
I agree.
I have played Delvers a lot, and I never ever boarded out
Okay.
a single Delver.
Okay.
I think you just don't do it because it's a really strong.
No, I know the
just
card. I, know,
clock.
I played Delver also.
Yeah.
It's not.
There's a red mana, but he's going to run into a daze. And I don't think he has a spirit guide to counter that, so no, he does not.
No, he would have used it the turn before to make already the Blood Moon.
Chat says 2010 version had dragons. Doesn't mean the name is accurate. Yeah, you're right. You're making a good point. I think it's called like genre Stompy these days, or Planeswalker Stompy, or just Mono Red Stompy.
For me, Stompy is just mono green with a lot of small creatures. That's the only Stompy. I started in '95, and that's not Stompy for me. It's Stompy.
Wasn't
Stompy
it
is
red green
just
in 95?
no. It was mono green with like 96, from 96 to 2000. It was mono green and just playing random creature, Guts Banogre or things like that, and hitting your opponent on your face. That was Stompy.
So, Tobias pitched one of his answers, or rather one of his clocks, to a Force of Will to get rid of Chandra. So, your prophecy might come true.
Delver.
There we go.
I'm still on the page where if I look at this on the play, I would side out probably or one Arcanist and one Delver and to reanimate if I have to put cards here on the play. On the draw, I would probably keep all the Delvers just because I feel like some other cards are really bad. But on the play, I don't know. I think I agree with you. The Delver is still obviously the finisher in a tempo deck. But if we want to add 4 cards and you don't want to take out the bolts as we spoke before, I think the cantrips are really good. I think it's more useful to have an answer fast to your opponent than having a Delver into play.
That's a no-brainer, of course.
Oh, this Delver is hard to see.
Yeah. He's opting for a braid instead of killing it with Chandra. That's interesting.
This is what I thought could happen. I mean, like a thread that sticks, because it is true that with Lorenzo playing a ley line, the game goes longer, really
Yeah,
longer,
yeah, yeah.
because Tobias has no card advantage in his deck, zero.
Except for
If ley line is into play, and that's a long game.
Mm.
No card advantage for the Delver deck.
Yeah, and without the Germagangler, he's having a hard time pressuring a genre.
Yeah,
What is that?
I'm still not fully convinced about the ley line, but
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 we
in
are
this moment
being
is great.
proven wrong, yes. Tobias' hand is completely empty now, right?
Yeah.
What's the artifact card beside Chandra? I don't know this artwork.
It's the Snaring Bridge from Masterpiece.
Oh, jeez. Lorenzo is proving us wrong.
I don't think he'd bring in 4 ley line. I'm pretty sure about this. That's my
You mean
idea.
just one? Either
Not
have it
one,
or
but
not.
few. Because it's so bad if you draw multiples ley line in this deck.
Yeah, of course.
It's and
Of
if your
course.
plan is already to mulligan with the new mulligan rule, you can play also less ley lines and they are still effective.
Yeah.
Because you just want to go for ley line or you just want to go for chalice or something like this. This is like putting more not threats but more cards that are just impactful on some way.
Yeah.
And the fact that Tobias has
And
no
it's
way to take it out, the only way is the
press
card
on.
that he pitched away.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like he relies on the ley line either, so he can just,
No.
He's fine without it, but it's fine if he has it.
Yeah, I think the best card from Tobias' deck is Dreadhorde, Arcanist, because it makes card advantage for his deck, for his plan.
Yeah.
And not having Dreadhorde Arcanist as a threat is like. But this game is pretty cool because it took long and it was really strange. I
It was
mean,
better than expected.
yeah, better than expected. I agree.
Yeah. I'm afraid that we're going to see a few of these Stompy decks today because they are actually a surprising large portion of the metagame. I think
Okay.
somewhere around 7-8% in the last 2 months. I can look it up later. It's
I
it's
know
surprisingly high.
I know already 2 people that are playing this deck. This way, it's a
Well,
good it's a good amount. I know.
2 people
You know,
is
I know exactly 5 people here. This way, 2 on 5 is a lot. I mean, it's the percentage in my head is 20 percentage.
maybe you
No, it's
just
a little bit more,
maybe
40
you just know
percentage.
Stompy player. By the way, guys, we did gather some data. There is actually 109 players playing this tournament, so we're going to see 7 rounds with a cut to playoff top 8. 107 players attending. Now we are starting to see non-magic, Snaring
Yes.
Bridge, Trinisphere, and the Planeswalker against
And
nothing.
with this sentence, he wants to say Mono Red is winning. No magic is winning, Mono Red.
No magic
No,
is happening. You don't get to cast spells, you don't get to attack, you don't get to use your graveyard.
you don't do stuff. I do stuff.
I do stuff.
Someone is winning, someone is losing, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah, with Rebel Master, I think it's pretty safe to scoop for Tobias. That is surprising. We both said, I think Tobias is going to win the last game. Especially
With the start.
after
But Mulligan
with
on
the top
6 was
seeds.
already something, because then the pressure is on you. I mean, you have to hit something to deal with your opponent threats, but you don't have a lot of cards.
Yeah,
Because
but it was quite unlucky that he didn't draw a Borrower or Delver in the first few cantrips because
he
he
drew Borrower kind of soon.
kind of soon, yeah, but
Yes.
he opted to pitch it.
Yes.